Hey everyone, it's Brett from Misfit Media, and I'm so excited because today I'm sitting here with Mikael, who's the CEO and co-founder of ManyChat, which is the world's leading platform when it comes to messenger marketing and chatbots. Mikael also goes by Mike. So Mike, how are you doing? What's going on? What's new with ManyChat?
Brett, thanks for having me. And everything is great. The platform is growing. Everybody is implementing digital channels into their businesses, online and offline. And I think the world is changing around us with everything that's going around. But I think this has actually facilitated businesses and agencies realizing that they need to have that direct connection with their customers in case something happens, and really value that relationship. So I think this is overall everything is great, and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know you talk about relationships a lot, and obviously the great thing about ManyChat is being able to keep those relationships with your customers on so many different platforms. I mean, that's so crucial. If we're looking at a time that we just went through, being able to communicate
Yeah.
with your customers during these tough times is so incredibly important. So thanks you guys for having that, of course. For us, ManyChat has really become, I mean, really one of the most essential components and tools that we've incorporated into our service. I mean, it's literally right there with Facebook, hand in hand. So again, just want to say thank you for, creating ManyChat, obviously. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you
Um,
using us, and
yeah, it's fantastic,
customers
man.
is the reason we do this.
Absolutely. And also one more thing is want to say thank you for giving us this amazing award you guys gave us this last year. Top performing
Yeah.
local business agency of the year. So it
Because
it's
you
been
are.
thank you. Thank you. It's really been a pleasure working with you guys. And again, that's why I was so excited to do this interview today. But so Mike, for a lot of our listeners, when it comes to chat marketing, a lot of our listeners on this podcast are restaurant owners, other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs in the local business. And for a lot of them, like chat marketing and chatbots is somewhat of an unfamiliar topic to them. Um,
Sure.
would you mind kind of giving us like a quick rundown for our audience on really like what is chat marketing and why entrepreneurs and business owners should be caring about it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the foundation of what we're talking about is the fact that the whole world has moved to mobile as a from desktop, right? Uh, we've been talking about this like since like the iPhone came out. Everybody was talking like this is the year of mobile, etc. But actually, um, only last year did the mobile web traffic surpass desktop traffic in 2019. That was the where the world actually became mobile in terms of the number of pages viewed. Now, some people say, okay, like page viewed is great, but like what about actual sales? And the sales have already actually surpassed desktop mobile sales have already surpassed desktop sales around the world. Actually, um, eh, uh, around the world, over 60% of sales are done on mobile. And the majority of that is actually due to Asian countries
Wow.
where they leapfrogged desktop, and there over 70%, and in some countries close to 80% of sales are done through mobile. Now, US is around 45% mobile sales,
Hmm.
and 55% desktop sales. That was data for 2019, according to eMarketer. Now, that proportion is actually changing rapidly, and actually in 2021 is going to be already 54% mobile. So mobile is going to become the number one channel in terms of sales volume, even for US. Um, and like if you look further, it's clear that the mobile is the number one device in our lives. And mobile, like people should not be optimizing for mobile. They should be starting with mobile. They should be mobile is the default, and then you optimize for desktop. And if you have this type of, and I don't think that a lot of people have that type of mentality, but if you look at the data, it's clear mobile is number one screen, and it's the number one device that we have in our lives. Now, if you're a business and you know this about consumers, you have to ask yourself, how am I communicating with my customers on mobile? And like, email is great, but on mobile, like, people have so many other different channels that are, for a lot of them, even more important than email. So it used to be, when you were talking about desktop customers, email was the king, right? It was the only channel that you needed for one-on-one communication. If you're talking about market automation, private one-on-one, that's email. But on mobile, email is one of many channels. And that's what we believe in ManyChat, that you should be actually building not only your email list, it's important, but it's going to become less and less important, because more and more people, if you look at the data, the number one apps right now on our phones are messaging apps.
Yep.
In 2020, messaging apps will have more users, more unique users, than social media apps. That's
Got it.
it. Like, social media was number one for so long, but messaging apps, that's the most crucial use case. That's the most dominant use case. And messaging apps will have more users this year than social media apps. And that's why last year, Mark Zuckerberg on stage of F8 said that if they were building a social platform today, they would be building a private messaging app.
Wow. That's huge.
So
Wow.
that's why they bought WhatsApp for $20 billion. And it was a great purchase. It was a steal. Everybody, like, Instagram was a steal. WhatsApp also was a steal. Like, everybody thought that Instagram, like, why are they paying $1 billion for
Yeah.
an app that doesn't make any money, right? They knew what they were doing. With WhatsApp, same thing. Like, everybody, like, it's a messaging app. It makes $0.
Yep.
Like, they're paying 20 billion for it. And it was one of the most and smartest moves that they could have had, because, like, they have Instagram, they have WhatsApp, they have Facebook Messenger, and they have the big blue, right? So
Yes.
anyway, going back to my point, the messaging apps are the number one apps on our phones, and that's how we communicate on mobile. Now, we also have SMS, and we also have mobile email, and that's basically the vision that we have for the market, is that as a business, you should have access to your customers through all of those channels, and to orchestrate how you communicate with your customer through those channels. It's not enough for you to have, like, a really, like, your email strategy that lives outside and siloed from your SMS strategy, that lives siloed from your messenger strategy, etc. And this is what we allow businesses to do, is basically to build those relationships with their customers through the channel that they prefer. And different customers will prefer different channels, but you don't want to be using like 25 different platforms. You want to be using one. So
Absolutely.
and sometimes you'll have, like, and like, people ask, like, are these channels mutually exclusive, right? If I have somebody's email, like, do I need their phone number? Do I need their messenger? And our answer is, actually, if the channel makes sense for your, like, geography, because, like, SMS and email are ubiquitous, but some countries use email less. So, for example, we have a lot of usage of our email product in US. We don't have that a lot in Asia, because they don't use a lot of email.
Yep.
So it depends on your geography and your vertical and your target customer, which channels you should be using. But once you identify those channels, I would actually encourage businesses to build multiple. Basically, each channel is an access point to that customer. Imagine it like a thread, right? Like, you have a customer, and that's like, one channel is one connection, one pipe to communicate, to receive messages and listen to the customer, and also to send those messages to the customer. So, like having one thread is already great. It's better than having a zero, right? But having 2, 3 threads makes that relationship stronger, makes
Absolutely.
that connection stronger. So that's why like we believe that's the way that businesses should be going. And until now, omni-channel, and this is what's called omni-channel, right? Omni-channel, like all of the channels, right?
Yes.
So this is until now, the omni-channel strategies were a part of the enterprise world. They were like very pricey, like you had to pay like tens of thousands of dollars for this software. They were very clunky and they were very hard to set up, et cetera, et cetera. Now, our job, that the way we see it, is to build the an easy to use, very affordable platform for businesses to achieve the same results, that they can set up themselves or use an agency to help them do that if they don't have in-house talent to actually achieve that. So yeah, this is what we are trying to do. And in terms of, so it's not about like, I've started like from the mobile and from the mobile channels. I think that's the most important piece. Now, when we were talking about specifically, and that's why we call about chat marketing, like chat is about that one-on-one chat, right?
Yep.
That back and forth messaging. It's fun, it's engaging, it's short, it's converting. And that's why we basically, SMS is what we consider SMS chat marketing. We consider Facebook Messenger chat marketing. Any messaging app basically where you have back and forth with those short messages is basically chat marketing. Web chat is also chat marketing. So that's on the chat marketing. Now, when we were talking about chatbots, it's basically automation of those messages. So like you can have two things. You can have manual chats with people, like just with the same way you have with your friends, like, hey, what's up for dinner? And like you can have this, like you can have your customers message you saying, hey, are you open right now? And you can have a person reply to that through text or on the Facebook Messenger, and that would be manual live chat. Many, like we as a platform, we support that. We believe that manual live chat is very important. We also support automation, which is basically when somebody asks you like similar questions, for example, you can automate those responses. So if somebody asks like, what are you open right now, or what are your working hours, you can always reply like with the same message without the need to have a human person, like a human, do that. Now, another thing besides just support and like FAQ queries, like that would be a service type of use case. I think a more important use case for businesses is how does chat automation, like when people talk about chatbots, like they usually, there's a lot of different people, like people mean different
Negative
things.
connotation
Um,
sometimes in our
we
space.
can, yeah,
Sometimes
we could,
if we say the word chatbot, sometimes a restaurant owner freaks. So what is that? That sounds scary
yeah, yeah.
for a lot of
So
people.
we could talk about like chat automation, right? So how do you automate those messages in a way that helps you create a great experience for the customer, and create effective results for the business, right? So for
Yeah.
example, let me give you a real world example of a use case. As a business, you can, for example, use Facebook ads to drive traffic to your messenger, right? And when people click on the ad, they will start a conversation with your business. Now, inside that conversation, it could be automated. So, for example, if you're selling, if you're a marketing agency, for example, you could automate lead qualification. So you could ask that assistant, that automation can ask the person questions about like, what's your monthly budget, what industry are you in, how many employees do you have, and then qualify based on certain responses from the person. It can qualify and say, okay, so like this person, like we'll just not even talk to them based, for example, they're an enterprise company and we're an SMB agency. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they found us, but like forget about them. They're not, we shouldn't pay attention to that. We should just like graciously tell them that like we don't serve that type of, like, for example, if they answer, we have over 500 employees, and you can, your chat automation, your chat bot can answer, oh, that's great, like you should, like we usually work with smaller clients, like,
It's a
or
pre-qualifier.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just pre-qualify them.
And
But
Mike, what you're talking about though,
yeah,
I'm glad you bring this up because we do the exact same
yeah,
thing for restaurants,
yeah,
right? Like you see it in the restaurant space all the time. you want to get new customers, new
Yeah.
guests, but you want to get the right type of guests, right? You know, the last thing you want is a customer that comes to your restaurant, spends the very small average ticket, leaves, never comes back.
Yeah.
We've done stuff, through your guys' system where if a customer comes through and spends on like the bottom 10% of what we're typically looking for, and we've already made them an offer, we just stop marketing to them. We exclude them from the next
Yeah.
campaign. But if
Yeah.
someone spends way above the average ticket, hey, that's a great customer. We want to re-engage with that person because they spend a lot, and that's fantastic. That's what we're after, obviously. Um,
Yeah. I
one
think
thing,
that's very smart, because what this allows you to do, like finishing up on the chatbot thing, basically that's chat automation, right? It's how do
yeah,
you automate that lead qualification, follow-up, conversion? How do you basically create that experience without spending a lot of money on like people doing it manually? So we call that a hybrid approach, right? So human touch for when you're doing manual stuff, and automation when you want to uh, uh, no to do it automatically, right?
you, you
So
you've made us a cyborg, is what you've done.
part sideboard, right?
Yeah.
Like it's what it's enhancement
We're already cyborgs, though, if you think about it. I mean, it's
true.
like, I mean, I never
Your
go
phone,
anywhere without this
yeah,
thing ever. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
stupid.
It's a part of you.
It's actually a part of us, and it's like our digital self, and that's where it is.
Agreed. And it's so different than a notebook, right?
Yeah,
Like notebook is a tool. This thing, like it's a part of yourself.
it's your
Like
memory, it's your reminder to
it's
your
your
calendar,
memory. Exactly. It's
it's your
your
communication
eyes.
tool.
Yeah.
It's
It's the
scary.
way you get messages. It's the way that it has direct input. Like the notifications, y- y- like used haven't used to be this prevalent. Like if you think about notebook, like if you think about what a notification is, it's direct access to your neural network.
Yeah.
Like it's basically somebody being able to talk to you and being able to grab your attention. And that's why you have to like pay very, very close attention to like who you give that access to and how you
Oh yeah.
manage those notifications. But it's very, very interesting how these devices became a part of ourselves. And that's why it's so important, that we believe it's so important to like not think about this in broad marketing terms. I think that the
Yep.
marketing in general has evolved from like we had lists, we had like just our customer list. And that was like already an innovation, because like some businesses didn't even have a customer list. They're just doing their own thing and they don't have any lists. Now you have a list, that's great. The next step in evolution was like creating different sub lists, right? So you have this list and that list, and like you're starting to do some type of targeting, but still it's pretty like it was manual. Like you had to create lists, you have to update the list manually, etc. um, and then you had dynamic lists, so you had segments that would update themselves based on certain criteria. Like if the person hasn't responded to me in 30 days, then like let's put them on a list of customers, like cold customers or something.
Yeah.
And then you would market to these people differently. And like each one of those evolution steps is important because it makes the conversation more relevant. It had to go through this to make the conversation more relevant to the person, because like if the business is actually paying attention to what you're doing as a customer, that business will be more relevant to your situation, and that will
100%.
provide you with a better customer experience. Now, with chat and with mobile, because of the interactivity, because of the fact that people are much more responsive, and like you can present different options and you can record what the person is answering because they've literally talked to you about this, like they've gave out that information directly. They want to give out this information to you. When you're asking like, hey, do you like cats or dogs more, the person that like says, let's say dogs, it means that the uh, uh, then you can actually use that information. If you're selling animal products, you can use that information to actually build that customer profile, but not on dark data, not on by like doing some shady stuff, but because that person has actually explicitly told you and build that relationship with you and that profile
Yes.
with your business. And now you can actually talk to that person, not on a overall list level, not on a manual segment level or on a dynamic segment level. You can talk to that person on a personal level. You can
Yep.
talk to that person directly one-on-one. And this is why we're so excited about this. This is why, like, we think that um, there is no we think that in the future the relationships between businesses and customers are going to become more like relationships between people.
Wow.
And they're going to be more personal. They're going to be driven by the person has certain needs, and the business provides certain services, and it's that overlap of a need and a service that the value is created. Like, there is no point in talking to a person who doesn't need your business's services. You're
Yep.
basically distracting them from their own lives, et cetera, et cetera. And you're not getting any conversions. So that's a bad strategy, right?
One
And there is
one
no
thing I want to
point
mention
in,
too, Mike, is like
yeah,
everything you're saying is so true, and I love you mentioning all this. And the one thing I want to reiterate that you said earlier though is like what you're offering here, all of these capabilities and all of these tools are
yeah,
affordable, totally affordable for any business, small and medium sized business to enterprise. And that's what's so cool about what you guys do. I mean, it's one of those things where so many restaurants. Okay, when we got in this space, right? Because obviously we just do restaurants. Everyone said, "What? Why restaurants? They don't have money. What are you thinking? Like they don't have budgets for this kind of stuff." You don't need a crazy budget for a lot of this most amazing tech today, which was what everyone is getting wrong, right? Everything we're talking about, the future of marketing, how businesses connect with customers, the tools that you allow people to use on your platform. I mean, it's completely transforming the game
yeah.
and affordable. I mean, what do you guys start at? Like, it's like $10 a
Uh,
month or something to start,
ten
right?
$10 a month. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the starting point.
Yeah.
Uh,
And obviously we have
it's
hundreds
like
of accounts with you
it's
guys.
increasing. So with the number of, like, we try to align ourselves with value. So basically, the more contacts you have on your list, the more you pay for the platform. But it starts
Of
like with
course.
$10 a month for like 500 contacts. And by the way, if you're not talking to somebody, you can have an automation to unsubscribe them, and we'll stop including them in the bill. So like
Yeah.
it becomes very, like, keep only the people that you want to keep on your list, and the ones that you really care about, and the ones that you want to build a profile, and then you want to convert, and that you want to have as repeat buyers, and that you want to provide a great service to. And that's the way that we think about this. So
Yeah.
finishing up on that thought, like, you have this overlap, right, between the need and the service. Now, if the person doesn't have a need, there's nothing to serve. But if the person has a need and your business is not talking to that person, there's also no value being created. You cannot create value if the person has a need and they don't know like, where to go with it, and like what to do with it.
Yeah.
So uh, value is created on that intersection of like a great service and somebody who has a certain need, right?
100%.
And understanding your customers, I think, is going to be one of the very important aspects of how the marketing like goes forward. Like, actually, like, customers are like, if you think about, again, about this progression, customers are becoming, like, getting from this gray homogenous mass of like my customer list. I don't know anybody personally. I don't know anything about them. Like, they're just my customers, right? They're becoming more and more uh, uh, um, specific, more unique. Like, you understand each customer uniquely, what they need, what channels are they reading, how did they respond to certain questions, etc.,
Yeah.
which allows you to it's like, when you have a, like, well, let's say you have a bar, right, and you have certain repeat customers who come in, come out, and they talk to the bartenders, they talk to the owner, and like they start to build this personal relationship, right? That's great. Like, that's the customers feel that connection for the business feels like they're serving the customers, and also there is value being created because it's a great experience. It's a great product, and that's why these people are coming back. Now, how do you scale that? How do you create this type of, like, okay, it's not going to be as personal as having the direct relationship with the owner and like sitting down with him and having a beer, but how can you go 2 steps forward from just like not having any connection with that business?
100%.
And uh, messaging is going to be one of those things. I believe actually we were talking a lot of people are talking about about automation right now, and that's great. I think that's very, very important. I also think that people are very, very much underestimating live chat. um, Live chat is very underestimated right now. It can be done very cheaply, and it provides a huge response. Like it provides like just it increases customer satisfaction by leaps. And the reason that that's happens is like every restaurant, like usually restaurants have a phone number, right? You can call, you can talk, like you can order pickup or something, right? Live chat is kind of the same way, but not a lot of people people's preference towards calling businesses is actually decreasing, because
Yeah.
we're just like each generation is just less excited about calling somebody. Sure, sometimes you want to call somebody and you want to get a response instantly. A lot of times, once you start to have that experience, you would just message somebody,
People
right?
prefer it. It's
Exactly.
on your time. Someone calls you,
Exactly.
they're taking your time all of a sudden. You get a text, I'll
Yeah.
get back to you in a few minutes. Right?
Exactly. And sometimes you don't want to be calling somebody. Like you want to be like text, and because you don't want to be waiting on the line, you want to be explaining anything. You just want to text and like you forget about it and go about your day.
Yeah.
So like if we're having like an example, sometimes you want, like for example, you could be watching a movie, you could be in a meeting, you could be doing all sorts of stuff that prevents you from calling right now. And the ability to just text your the business that you want to deal with is going to become norm in the next 5 years.
Totally.
And that's what's happening already. Like we already are seeing like a lot of people like adopting. ManyChat has over 1 million business pages connected to it in over 190 countries like around the
Wow.
world.
That's
So it's
killer,
like
man. I love that.
so
What
they're sorry, yeah, sure.
one thing, no, this is fantastic stuff, man. You brought up a ton of great points, by the way. One point that stood out to me that I think is just so relevant for our audience here is you talked about building a relationship.
Yeah,
You talked about customers moving from just like a number or a check value to that relationship aspect. One thing that I think a lot of restaurants have a hard time wrapping their minds around is this. They have a lot of them had a resistance to online ordering
yeah,
because they're like, part of our restaurant is half the food, the product, and half the experience, the hospitality.
yeah,
Now, I spoke to a gentleman last week who told me this mental block
yeah,
is going to be the separation between the winners and the losers in the next few years in the restaurant space.
yeah,
Because what he was saying is the relationship you have with your customers, the guest experience, the hospitality experience that you can give them, it doesn't have to go away after they leave your restaurant. It just moves online,
yeah,
you know? And so what you're saying is exactly that, is you can have this connection with your customers virtually and in some
yeah,
ways automated.
yeah,
So, I think this is such an important point, especially for our audience, because it's giving them the idea and letting them know, hey, your excuse about hospitality not being a thing outside your doors, you can't do that anymore, right? I mean, look what social media is, right?
yeah,
We used to all, I mean, we obviously still go socializing outside and see our friends, but there's a
yeah,
whole social community online now where it's
yeah,
almost kind of the same experience, right?
yeah.
You
it's
know?
it's people should start thinking about like, and sorry for interrupting, but like I think
No,
it's a
yeah.
great point. uh One of the things that I found myself thinking about and is about, you know how there's like these dark kitchens, right,
Yep.
where like you have somebody who is just selling, doesn't have a physical presence, just selling through DoorDash or whoever.
Absolutely.
um and what I found myself is that um, I lack, like there's so many of them that I actually don't trust until I hear something about them, until I understand what's the story, who are these people, can I trust these people,
Yes.
what's the story behind that brand. And I think a lot of restaurants who have that presence and who have invested in their own space, like it's a much bigger investment than like uh, um, having just renting a kitchen and like getting a logo and like going on DoorDash.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's going to become very important as a differentiating factor to start telling that story online, and to actually build out and like let people know who you are, what you stand for, and have like have a website,
Yeah.
have pictures of you and like the story, and like who are you, why did you start this restaurant, what do you believe in, what is your mission, what are your values, how do you source your products, how do you prepare them, what do you do to make sure that everything is safe and clean,
Yeah.
etc.
They care more.
Like those things are very very important. And by doing this work, like you could be doing all of that, but if you're not telling the market about that, nobody knows about that. So that doesn't exist in the heads of the customers. So you did all this hard work to build a great restaurant, to have the best food in the world, to have the best sourced ingredients in the world, and nobody knows about that. So how are you going to tell that story? And I think one of the ways is just online presence, social media. Another way is that automated experience, is
Totally.
that having that inside the chat, telling your story, following up, and having that conversation. Imagine if you as a restaurant owner could tell the story of your restaurant in a step by step, choose your own adventure kind of way
Oh,
to all of your customers.
we gotta try that maybe with someone.
Because that's, and like you can have it like as a follow-up after they already ordered, but like even if like 5% of people or 10% of people click through that story, like you're building your brand and you're telling them that story. And next time they're going to think about ordering food or going to some place, they're going to remember, oh, like there's all the rest of the guys, but there is these guys who I have a personal relationship. They're not going to think in those terms. They're just going to feel more comfortable because they know you, they know your story, they know your values, and they're going to go to you because they feel like they're part of that family,
Yes.
and they're part of that community, of that tribe of your restaurant. I think building those, that's the reason that, like that doesn't compare to email. Is great, but like email is not interactive. When you're engaging in that automated experience on like on Messenger, you're basically like you have a picture and a short text, right? And there is like several buttons that you can click, so it's very interactive, it's very very engaging on the side of the customer. And
Yes.
that what makes it uh, um, more active. Like
Yeah.
email
There's
is
more
more
buy-in.
passive,
There's more
right?
buy-in from the
Yeah,
customer. They're like they're having this experience with you, but they're also buying into it every step along the way.
yeah, every
Mike.
time they click on the button, it's like they're engaging more with your brand. And
Yes.
like compare that to just like scrolling, right? So scrolling is very passive, like you're just reading something, and like if it's not interesting, you're just like you're going like you go, you switch to the next thing. Here, with the fact that you can like place, there is these chunks like once person starts clicking through the scenario, right?
Yep.
um it's actually every time they click, it's like after the initial one, the CTRs grow to like 70-90%, because like they want to hear the whole story. So
Yes.
they start to click through the whole thing. So even if you have like only a small portion of those people click through like 10 messages that are with photos, etc., those people are really going to know your stuff. And like how many people who come to the restaurant really know like the names of the owners, when it was founded, why, who, like what they do, etc. Like nobody
The
knows that.
the funny thing about
Yeah,
this, Mike, is we talk to so many SMB restaurants who whose excuse from working on the business versus in the business is like, well, I got to be there because people got to know me. Well, guys,
yeah,
just what you heard just now from Mike, hey, you don't have an excuse for that anymore. You can do it through ManyChat. So
Exactly. Like that's how you
seriously
scale
though.
it. You cannot talk to I would, if I was building, and I was actually a part, like my father has started like 5 restaurants actually,
Oh,
like
very cool.
besides being a tech entrepreneur, and I was actually working as a waiter in several of those when I
Wow.
was like 15, 16. And I would, if I was starting a restaurant, like telling that story and creating this brand around the
Totally.
restaurant at scale. Like if you invest, like you can go into that restaurant every day and like talk to a few people, but how do you create this so that hundreds of people go through that? And like you're not going to be able to unless like you spent your whole day doing just that. But like if you automate that, you can forget about that, and everybody else is still going to hear the same story te-
No, this is so cool.
that's being told in your own words with
I
those
I love this
behind the
aspect of
scenes
the
pictures
story.
and
I mean,
anyways.
Mike, so it's
Yeah,
funny. So my
yeah,
one and only job before I started Misfit
yeah,
was I worked at Casamigos Tequila. You know
yeah,
Casamigos tequila brand, right?
yeah.
Do you like tequila or no?
I actually more of a whiskey guy.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that was my first job really ever. My first and only normal job. Long story short, the very first week on the job, the most important thing I was supposed to learn about their business is the story.
Yeah,
And it was said that every employee at that company in that first week, they would sit down with the CEO, Randy Gerber, and he would tell the story of Casamigos and how it started. They thought it was so incredibly important for all their employees and staff to know how the story went so they could really embrace the brand. What you're
yeah,
talking about, damn, this is fantastic. Share the story with your community at a mass scale with automation. I mean, Casamigos, for people who don't know, they obviously they killed it. You know, they grew very quickly and sold for a lot of money. And that was one of the most important aspects of that brand. So what you're saying, I mean, the brand story is so important. And this is now an opportunity for people for the first time ever to scale that storytelling, which is killer. Um,
yeah.
Mike, you got to be like some kind of super genius. You know that, right?
No,
No, what?
just I don't think so. Like we've just been thinking about this like since 2015, and like it's just when you have a lot of time to think, it's just
things are
it's
things are
what
definitely clicking.
happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like if you asked me like a few years ago, like it would be a very similar story. It would be just less uh, uh, there would be less depth to it. But like the more we go into this, the more we realize what's actually happening, and
yeah,
like relationships between businesses and customers are getting more personal.
yeah.
Businesses will start to have a centralized list and a centralized like master list of their customers, no matter what the channel is. Like there's so many things that fall into place to power this better experience. And
How many how
yeah.
many of your guys' customers on ManyChat do you feel like follow this formula you're discussing with building a relationship? I mean, what percent would you say actually follow this guideline?
This is very hard to quantify, to be honest. Like, even if
Yeah.
you go on a per conversation type of basis, like, it's still very hard to estimate, like, how many people are quote unquote building a relationship, et cetera. But to be honest, doesn't, um, it doesn't really matter because we are, as a company, we're building a technology, and we believe that at some point it's just the way it works is usually like this. Paul Graham has this great quote: future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed.
Mm,
Right? So some
I like
people
that.
are already living in the future, some people are living like 5 years in the past. It just depends on different factors. So the same with our customers. Some of our customers are living in the future, and they're building relationships, and they're using all of the channels: SMS, messenger, email, etc. And some of our customers are just starting out, because if you think about it, like, you don't have to go fully omni-channel to use ManyChat. Like, we have people who are just starting with SMS. We have people who are just starting with email. We have people, the majority of our people are just starting with Messenger. That's what we are known for.
Yes.
And uh, it's just a matter of time once people realize that they do need multiple channels. They do want those stronger relationships. They do want the automation and the interactivity. They do want to actually listen to their customers and understand and talk to different customers in different ways to make sure they're served properly according to their own affinity towards the business and motivation to and knowledge of the business.
Yeah,
And so yes, this is I think it's but to put a number in it,
it's
I
hard to
don't know,
say.
to be honest. Yeah, it's hard to say. We're sending like billions of messages every month. So
I'm kind of curious, Mike, because like obviously, we've been sold on ManyChat for a while, and like we love what you guys are doing, and obviously we're gonna continue working on this for as long as I can think. Uh, seems like,
thanks, man.
of
Thanks.
course, but I'm curious, like, do you guys? I mean, do you guys get customers that sign up and quit and are frustrated, or I'm kind of curious the kind of pushback you guys are getting because you guys solve a lot of problems, and big thing we
Yeah.
boast at our company is like the bigger the problem you solve, the better you'll do overall, right? And the problem that we solve in the restaurant space is trackability. We say, hey, look, you're a restaurant, you've been spending thousands of dollars on your marketing every single year, and you have no idea if what you're doing works in the slightest bit. Guess what? I can show you exactly what you spent and exactly what you made. And they're like, whoa, bingo, problem solved, right?
Yeah.
Now, for you guys though, I mean, you're obviously solving, a lot of different problems here. And I'm just kind of curious, what do you guys are like what's the most popular pushback you guys get in general?
Yeah. So I think the most popular, it's not a pushback, it's just that some people get excited and they come to the platform and they do not figure it out like in the first day and they
Hmm.
just give up. So I think that's the
Frustrated.
number one
Yeah.
thing. It's more about, and this is what we were going to be solving with like a better onboarding with like quick campaigns, like we've grown ManyChat from just our own frustrations, and our own problems that we wanted to solve, and then we went into this early adopter and innovator community of digital marketers who we're very excited about all these more sophisticated features, and we always try to make it simpler through simplifying the interface, making it like decreasing the number of things and options that people have, etc. uh, like the visual stuff, like creating our flow builder, and like basically creating this ability to structure the conversation the way that people just think, right? If you do this, like in that simple approach, that still is like, if you go and log into ManyChat as a new user right now, uh, like you'll need a few YouTube videos to
Yeah.
understand what's happening. Like you'll need probably somebody like yourself, Misfit Media, to get you through. Like if you don't want to be investing like a few days into learning this. So the question is, how do we make it simpler? How do we make it so that anybody without any technical knowledge could go in and start their first campaign, get excited, start their second campaign, and overall build this broader and more efficient.
A more basic version maybe? Because you guys can do basically so
Yeah,
many different things, but I feel like
exactly. But we
different
don't want to
industries
do
only
a basic
needs.
version. The thing
Yeah.
is, if you
I
build a
mean, I don't
basic
blame you, but
version, the thing is, if you do a basic version now, like you have to support two versions, etc. So the question is, how can we keep the same, like how do we just onboard you and give you the same level of power, but in a way that's easy for you to manage and to get started with?
yeah.
Because over time, I believe that people will actually, like a lot of people will actually appreciate the level of flexibility that we bring to the table. The question is that initial, um, for people who are like looking for a one button type of solution, that button is hire an agency. Like
Yeah.
right now, it's the simplest answer. But if you're willing to invest time into learning how chat marketing works, how SMS marketing works, then yes, I would like. Obviously, I'm biased, but I do believe that we have the best product in the world around that.
You
And
guys do. No, seriously,
thanks, man.
Cass.
Uh, but
um,
anyway, yeah, this is I think this is the number one, not objection, but the number one reason that I would think people uh, um, would start and then would leave.
Yeah.
That
No, that makes
said,
sense.
like it's great to see how like hundreds of thousands of people actually succeeding and like actually doing well. So
Yeah, and so even when we first started using you guys, obviously at the time it was just Messenger. Since then, obviously you guys evolved now having SMS and email, and that's been killer. What do you think is coming next? Are you guys looking to? I know you mentioned WhatsApp. Is that coming potentially soon to ManyChat?
sure. So we're going to implement all of the messaging, like not all of the messaging channels, but all the important messaging channels.
Yep.
WhatsApp hasn't really released an API for SMBs. They have an API for enterprise companies, but so it's like it's very manual right now. And given our scale
Hmm.
and given the number of customers that we have and the size of the customers, they wouldn't just get approved, to be honest because you have to have a sizable business to get approved by the WhatsApp team right now, which is manual. But they are working on the SMB solution. They actually reached out to us recently and saying like, okay,
Oh,
so
very cool.
we're actually thinking about this, and being the biggest platform and the biggest partner on Facebook Messenger, like uh, like we're going to be like obviously a part of that. We have a great relationship with Facebook, like weekly calls with them, and given that they own WhatsApp too, this is why I think WhatsApp is coming. I would my it's like with WhatsApp, it's always tricky because like there is encryption, etc. So like the development on the Facebook side is hard. It's not like because Facebook is slow or anything. It's just hard to build this. But my optimistic hope is that they're going to release something next year for SMBs, and we're going to be first in line to implement that. Instagram is coming next year.
Very cool.
That's what we're hearing right now, and we're also looking at other channels, so things like web chat and things like Telegram.
Cool.
So there's a few options. Telegram is growing really nicely. They have over 400 monthly active users right now,
Wow.
and yeah, it's a very interesting platform. It's very libertarian in a way that uh, the founder believes that businesses and customers should figure out themselves like how they want to talk to each other, so they're not like in any way policing that. um, that's different to other platforms where you could have like very strict rules of engagement.
Hmm.
And so yeah, this is what's happening there. um, Email, SMS are always foundational channels. They are open, they're independent, they are
Yep.
uh, basically like not proprietary.
What about what
And
about iMessage? You guys look thinking about
I'm
that
yeah,
at some point?
yeah, iMessage definitely is coming. The question is again when they have a scalable API. So
Yeah.
right now iMessage is not onboarding a lot of customers. So at some point they will. Google's business messages is also coming. So there's all these
Wow.
platforms that are coming out. The Google's business messages is actually a very fun one because it's going to be for restaurants. It's going to be killer because especially for restaurants, because basically what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to have a chat with us button on Google Maps,
Wow.
and you can start that conversation, and it's going to open a chat with a customer, and you're going to be able to follow up with them,
That is
etc.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
coming like it's at some point, like I think this year. So
That's so exciting.
on
Yeah, thank you for
Google
sharing that.
site, on
Thank you for
Google
sharing that.
site, we're gonna have to then we're gonna have to implement that. But yes,
Wow. Okay.
they're gonna first they're gonna start with, again, as with all of these platforms, first they're going to start with onboarding people. So they're going to start with like manually onboarding different businesses onto the platform. I don't think that we're going to get involved in that one, since it's just like we're a self-serve at scale platform. So we might do a few, just like a few tests in the beta, but like if we're talking about like your clients and overall just the restaurant industry, people should just know about this. But probably the at scale version where you can just register and start using it will come, I would guess, sometime next year.
Got it. Yeah,
But
I
overall,
know.
it's just, I think this just paints a pattern, and like this paints a picture of where all of these messaging channels are going. So
Hmm.
customers mobile communication is fragmented.
Yes.
You have to use some type of tool to handle that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of our clients, especially our European clients, is they're super excited about WhatsApp, right?
Mm.
All of our UK clients are like, well, this is all great, but when is WhatsApp coming, right?
Yeah, we actually
Um,
released SMS for UK just recently.
yeah,
If you
I saw
haven't
that.
seen that,
Very
you saw
cool.
it. Yeah,
Very, very cool. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think WhatsApp's gonna be great. I mean, that's gonna be amazing.
yeah.
And same with Instagram, of course.
The question
Um,
is like how they're gonna do the actual integration and what are gonna be the policies, because it
yeah.
seems that WhatsApp right now is going like the current WhatsApp policies are pretty strict, much stricter than
Mm,
Facebook's.
interesting.
So that's also going to be very important to understand how that plays out.
That's huge. Um, Mike, random question, but uh, what do you think is the coolest messenger chatbot you've ever seen someone build on your platform?
So this is a question that I get sometimes, and I should already have an answer for this, because like every time somebody asks me that question, I'm like, man, we got a lot of bots and a lot of accounts. Um, look, some of the stuff, uh, some of the stuff, the thing that comes to mind, some of the stuff that Matt Lights does with the some of his flows is just, it's not even in terms of, it's cool not because like I think they're getting like really great results too, but the coolest thing is they're going really deep on the automation piece, and they're like doing really complex stuff on the like using contexts of what's happening right now within the bot.
Yeah,
And depending on what context is happening, they reply differently. But it's don't let that scare anybody. Like you can have great results by just doing a very simple campaign, like, I don't know, a QR code to Wi-Fi password, or just take out delivery type of campaign, and you can have great results without doing a lot of sophisticated stuff. But
yeah,
his stuff is very uh, 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 like it's very complex and very interesting, how he took what just the visual flow builder and just took it completely to the next level. And there's like some other
yeah.
stuff. I remember one of the really cool examples was one of the authors. So we have lots of different verticals. Like obviously, like local businesses is a big part of what we do, but also we have a lot of e-commerce, a lot of just a lot of professional services, a lot
Totally.
of other different types of industries. And one of the industries is authors. So
Very cool.
people building their own brand and communicating with their followers. And this author, she actually wrote a book, and the way that she decided to create an experience for her readers was she created a prologue to the book in a interactive story with the one of the characters from the book. So
Wow.
basically, you you could have an enhanced experience of the book uh, if you started with the messenger experience, where you would talk to the main character and make decisions. It's kind of like a game, right? It's like kind of like you make decisions for the main character that lead into the actual physical book.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, it was really fun.
Me and Jace are actually releasing a book in a few months. It's called
Yeah,
Misfit Marketing for Restaurants.
nice,
We'll just send you a
nice.
copy of it.
Yes, let's do it. I would love
Yeah,
to get a copy.
there's definitely a few mentions of ManyChat in there, by the way. So it's gonna be cool. Maybe we have to do that though.
Awesome.
Man, this just gave me a good
Yeah,
idea. I'm glad we spoke about this. And then
yeah,
shout out to Matt Lights too. Matt is the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah,
He bot builders, and then they're awesome. You know,
that's true.
I love what they're doing. I remember some of the stuff we've seen from them. It's like, I'm like, what are you been doing over here, man? This goes way over my head.
Yeah.
It's really cool what they're doing though.
Yeah.
We had such a good time with them at your guys' conference last year. That was so fun. Um,
Too bad this time conference is going to be happening virtually, but it
yeah,
also makes sure that anybody can participate, and we're
that's
going to
true.
put a great lineup of action-packed content around chat marketing, SMS, email, messenger, and all the cool new stuff that we're going to be releasing. This is a
Yeah.
plug. Everybody go buy or at least subscribe to our updates about the Conversations 2020.
Yes, guys. Don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we had a great time. I remember, so 2018, me and Jace were members of the audience and just learning about ManyChat. We're like, what is
Oh.
this crazy thing? Kind of took a leap
You
of
went to the
faith.
2018 run, right?
Yeah, I was at 2018.
So
We didn't know
that's the
what it
thing.
was at all. And then next year we were
Yeah,
speakers and won the award. So I'm like, damn, this is cool.
exactly. Like that's the power of it. Like if you
Yep.
want to build something, like, and you want to be a part of that conversation, you want to really commit, and it's really interesting. Why did you decide to go to 2018? Like,
Um,
just
I
because,
mean,
like,
we were just, we were scrappy. We were an agency that always was trying to learning. I think any business owner needs to be always constantly learning, right? The moment
yeah,
you think you've learned enough, you lose.
yeah,
So me and Jace, both of us are just voracious learners, and we've taken countless courses online. I mean, we're always seeking advice. I've had like 15 different business coaches. Like it's kind of insane at times, but that's, when things get tough for us, we spend more on our education, on our company. We're constantly learning. But no, it was killer, man. It was one of those things where I remember we saw, Ollie Bilson spoke and Matt Light spoke, and both those guys to us stood out. We ended up coaching with Ollie, and we're good friends with Matt now. And
yeah,
and also, major players on ManyChat. So
yeah.
it is a transformative software. So shout out to you guys again for the 100th time. Seriously.
I'm so glad that you made it to the 2018, and like
Yeah.
2019, like winning the award. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It
It's
was
why we
cool.
did why we wanted to do the conference. And shout out to like all the team that made the 2018 possible.
Yeah.
Like,
That was a
uh,
great conference too. That was your first one, right? I think, right?
exactly.
2018. Yeah.
But like uh some really cool people made it happen,
Yeah.
like Molly Pittman, Dan Gamito, Lindsay Martyr. Like all of them had put their a lot of work to make that happen, and it
Me
was
and
great.
Jace left completely mind blown. It was like,
Yeah,
what's happening?
yeah, they did a
Mike,
great job.
another question for you is, what in your opinion is like the weirdest messenger bot you've ever seen someone make on your platform? The strangest thing.
Weirdest, um it's an interesting question. I'll have to come back to you. Like we have um some of the bots, like they're not weird, they're just not business oriented. Some of the
Yeah.
bots are just like when it was allowed, like when you had subscription permission prior to March 4th, like you could just send out like content type of pieces. And so we would have like people who are sending like daily quotes of the day, like daily quotes, or funny like things like puppies or something else. There was even a page that was sending you. It was a page that was run by um Mary Catherine Johnson, called God. And what he would be
Whoa.
basically send you like quotes from God, and like that would be
Whoa.
like that would be very intense, getting a message from God on Messenger. But
Wow.
it was, yeah, it wasn't weird, it was just fun. So yeah.
I spoke to someone. I was on a flight um, late last year, and I met someone on the flight, and they were in the event marketing space, and we just started talking on the flight, and and I was telling them, I always thought it'd be so cool if let's say you threw this big event and you didn't give anyone the address, but you kind of gave them like a ManyChat flow to go through in order to find the party. And it was kind of like you had to answer certain questions to get certain answers to go to the next
Yeah.
step, next step, next step, and then finally get to the party.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever done that? Something like that or not really?
I think yes. It
Yeah.
was super fun. So I think it's one of those really fun use cases. The thing is with Messenger and like with chat marketing is
Yeah.
that interactivity creates these kind of like these conversations that are automated that you can use for anything. So
Yeah.
like I even used it for like my birthday. So I basically set up a bot to like invite people to the birthday and tell them what the address is and like send
Oh, that's
notifications
killer.
about, etc.
I
So
almost
yeah,
did that for my birthday last year too, but it became too last minute. I was thinking about this. Great
yeah.
idea. That is so cool, man. Well,
I
Mike,
think like there is so many use cases. Like for example, like I imagine like you could build a bot for like a wedding where people
yes,
would send in photographs and like you would ask people to write letters and wishes, etc. There's so many things where basically if you think about the messenger experience or an SMS experience, it's everything is an interaction. Like if you think about a website, right? It's not chat, but it's basically it's an interactive, it's an interface. So
hmm
chat is just a different interface, and you can do a lot through chat. Like you think about computers used to be only text. Like they used to be only communicate to you through only text and do all of your commands through text.
yes,
Uh, so chat is already beyond that. If you think about Messenger, you have pictures, galleries, quick replies, you have all of that, which creates this opportunity to build lots of really cool stuff.
yeah, absolutely. There's so many use cases. I mean, for us, it's just there's this constant push to help our customers understand the true power in what we're doing and the true capabilities of what they have and what they can do as a restaurant online. There is we're in arguably one of the spaces that's so interesting. What's so interesting about restaurant space is that it's a rapidly changing industry, but you have people that are so resistant to this change, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that constant battle. But I think everything you've discussed with us today will hopefully give a lot of those listeners and viewers a lot of that hope that hey, you can make these changes and you can automate a lot of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
And like
you know,
you gotta uh, basically, if you want to have a certain degree of control over the destiny, like relying on just foot traffic, right? And relying on just like they will just notice me, or like you gotta build like there's so many marketing avenues, but you have to have that connection. Like you
yes,
have to have that Rolodex of your
100%,
customers, right? That
100%.
database, those phone numbers, emails, messenger, whatever next thing is coming. Uh, be sure ManyChat is going to integrate with that. Whatever channel of communication there
Yes,
it's coming, like we're going to integrate. Our job is to not solve like a specific channel. Our job is to solve communication for you.
I love that. That's awesome. Mike, it's been so awesome having you on the show today. This has been so incredible, such a great learning experience, I think, for myself and for everyone that's watching. With all your success that you've experienced, and through ManyChat and everything else you've done, what would you say is like one of the greatest lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur and growing this business overall?
Yeah, this is a great question. Um, you never know what's coming, so believe in the best. Um,
I love
so
that.
I would say one of the things that stuck with me is that when we were just starting, um, there wasn't a lot of confidence like how everything is going to turn out, right? We were just I was coming off 4 or 5 years of several projects that didn't go anywhere, was a bit of experiencing a bit of a burnout, and was actually just like getting married. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody knew like where ManyChat is going to go. And like when we were starting, even when we got into like 500 startups, like the first few years, you're basically like what is called default dead. Like if something if the funds run out, like you're not sustainable, you're not operationally profitable, like it's not going to work.
Yeah,
So and you're trying to get out of that default dead scenario by building a great product, getting customers, serving them well, and like getting to operational profitability and then growing. And when we were starting, there was this rush. Like tens of companies were starting. Like Facebook Messenger opened, there were like 40 other companies that were building like chatbot building software, etc. And what we realized is that if we were looking at that and we're starting to think about the negatives, like, oh, we're just one of one of many platforms, like how, like what is going to be different about us, like when we were starting to doubt ourselves, it was always um, there was no fun in it, and there was no inspiration in it.
yep,
And the thing with doubt is like doubt is a very important thing because it allows you to gather information. Like confidence and doubt are not at odds with each other. Like you shouldn't be always confident. Confidence and doubt is two states that you should be leveraging to progress. And you should use doubt when you want to gather information and ask questions, and you should use confidence when you want to make progress and you feel like you've asked all the important questions and you're ready to make a decision. Then you commit and you don't ask questions, you execute. So those two states are not like intrinsically negative or positive, they're just different tools in the entrepreneur's belt, right? So but when
absolutely.
you have too much of both of these, like if you have too much doubt, you always ask questions and you never make progress, and you're always basically uh, you're always in doubt. You're always not sure if you're making the right move or not, and you're like half in, half out type of situation. When you're always confident, you're not really thinking, so you're like just that's like driving and not paying attention to the road. Like sooner or
Yeah,
later, you're gonna encounter a light stand or something, or like go out like outside the road. So the lesson I think there was that you should I was on the doubt side. I was more like, because of that, I was more like, how is this going to happen, etc. And sometimes you can shut it off and sometimes you cannot, but as like you should, like one of the things that should be learned is that you don't know what's going to happen, but what you should be focusing on is your customers. You should understand the market that you're serving. You should understand the problem that you're serving. If you're serving an actual problem in a big enough market, and you're talented in this regard, and you're making adjustments and you're learning and you're constantly improving, like everything is going to be fine. Like it's gonna sort itself out, even if there is, for example, when COVID hit, like lots of people like became really scared, lots of things started falling apart, etc. Like for us, it was not the first time that we were experiencing like macro conditions changing. Like just prior to that, like Facebook has started to talk about changes in the policies, right? And
yeah,
that impacts us heavily because like people rely on those policies to serve different use cases. And if you like ban certain use cases, it decreases the value that we bring to the table.
of course.
So like at that point we were like, sure, you're going to react emotionally still, like there, it's not going to be like unnoticed, but you're like, okay, we've been through this. Like it's basically like just you create this room where you look at the data every day, every week, and you make adjustments, but you don't assume that everything is going to go bad. It's like and I've talked to people who are through like multiple crises, right? Crises.
Hmm.
And uh each time it's getting like even better and better because you understand crises are not an outlier, they're actually a part of the game. it's like they're built into the game, and you should be just as a person, as an entrepreneur inside this game, you should just assume that they're going to happen. It's not
Absolutely.
a it's not a thing that's like, oh, nobody thought it would happen. Like, they happen all the time. They're cyclical. So you should be always preparing that it's going to happen, and think about them not as a problem but as an opportunity, because when this happens, what happens is actually is a massive reshuffle of the market. And if you're ready, you're going to be able to actually profit from that in a good way, in a way that your businesses are prepared, you're going to survive, you're going to serve your customers, and possibly even expand. So I think
Absolutely.
that's one of those important things. And yeah, hope this
Wow.
was helpful.
That was extremely helpful. That was fantastic. Thank you so much again, Mike. This has been really cool, man. This is so awesome. Mike, again, this has been a great learning experience for myself. I think a great learning experience for all of our listeners. I can't wait to see you at the virtual conversations 2020 this year.
Yeah,
We're looking forward to it.
we're really working hard to put on a great show for you guys.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, again, thank you so much. We'll be seeing you around, and otherwise we'll see you online. See ya. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Brad.
much.
See ya.
Alrighty. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.